Hey, welcome to the channel. Glad you stopped by. If I can get you to hit that like, subscribe. I got a good one for y'all today. Make sure you watch every single clip. It's gonna spark your mind and make you question everything.
It's not actually the North Pole. The North Pole's been sailed every year for 30 years. It's off from the North Pole several hundred miles. This is in a region that's never been sailed before. It's between the magnetic North Pole and the actual North Pole. The waters are reported to be the roughest on the planet, so we're talking 10-story seas. This is not going to be a pleasure cruise by any stretch of the imagination. We'll be breaking ice for 8 days to get there, so it's not an easy place to get to.
The government always has an eye on you. That's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. They can spy through your camera, social media, telecommunications, or even through your prescriptions, also known as PDMPS.
This is going to get dark. In the beginning of 2020, a documentary came out exposing all of the secrets the government had hid from us. This documentary is called Out of the Shadows. The only way to see it is to go to outofshadows.org and then click to YouTube to watch the full documentary. It is blocked everywhere else. Even with 16 million views, if you search for it on YouTube, it will not come up. The documentary reveals all the secrets behind Hollywood, Jeffrey Epstein, Clinton's emails, and lastly, the conspiracy theory behind the coronavirus. Would you watch it?
Y'all, we got fake snow.
Why this shit fake?
Show them again.
Watch this. So this is
Styrofoam
This
pieces.
is styrofoam. Styrofoam.
Oh no.
It's the level of stupidity is incredible. I'm telling you, I used to use the word incompetent. Now I just call them stupid. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. But there's no better word than stupid.
Do you know the wacky conspiracy theory about the South Pole? That the South Pole is some sort of a direct energy weapon, that there's like some station down there that they've pretended is just for receiving, but it's actually for transmitting. But this guy was on the Sean Ryan show.
Every single door in the facility, I had complete access to every compartment they manufactured.
What are you blowing the whistle on?
That there are technologies people can't even consider that exist on this planet. Directed energy weapon systems is something that people need to get into their vocabulary fast. The Ice Cube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device as presented for the science that they're claiming it to do. It also has the capacity to transmit.
And he's explaining how he went down there and he read the operating manual for this device, and that this device caused the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. And I was like, what?
Conference room full of suits. And they approached me, and this is the fall of '93, just before I briefed CIA Director Woolsey. And they said, look, you don't need to be talking. They knew all about this meeting that was going to happen. And you don't need to be talking to the president and the CIA director about this. They don't know anything, and they're not going to know anything. If you want to know, you talk to us. We're the WFO. We're the work for other contractors. We're the people who are working on these technologies and doing the technology transfer. And then they were trying to convince me to side with what they were doing. And I said, no. I said, this is a corrupt enterprise. And then he offered that, he says, you're a doctor, you can take out as many credit cards as you want. We'll zero them out each month because we run the supercomputers that back up the entire banking system. And we can get an infinite amount of money through certain techniques. And so we'll just zero them out. I said, then you're going to own me, aren't you? Because isn't that credit card fraud and banking fraud? He says, no, we're just trying to help. You see how these... This is an absolutely true story. He put me under sodium pentothal lie detector. But at the end of it, he said, look, we have given at least, now remember, this is 30 years ago. We have given at least 10,000 people $10 million a piece or more to secure their cooperation with this project. Wow. And that was 30 years ago. Now, money is no object if you're printing the stuff up and you're running drugs and you're trafficking and you're siphoning off from the legitimate black budget, which there is a legitimate black budget that's overseen by the president and the key people in the Congress. We're totally legitimate. But a lot of money from that is siphoned off and is through overbilling to the government into these illegal projects. It's absolutely embezzlement. So we can prove this, by the way, and I have people who've seen it happen. Okay. But I think that when you look at that and you go, okay, well, this is where the center of power is. The center of power is not in Congress, and it's not in the White House, and it's not in the legal constitutional government or the main part of the Pentagon or agency. It's in this group, and it's amassed so much power and wealth and technology that it is, and I'll be blunt, a threat to all life on Earth. It's a threat. It's way greater threat than China or Iran or Russia.
Basically, what Dr. Greer just said was our own government is the greatest threat to us. Our own government, the United States government, is the greatest threat to humanity. Now, whether or not this is Men in Black, I couldn't tell you that. This is just insiders. This is the dark projects, the dark government. And he, by hearing his testimony, and I thoroughly believe this, that, like he said, the president, they all take orders from this. And so, in other words, it's a government within a government, and it's a dark government. This is the government where the reptiles operate and where other things operate. This is also, they're working with extraterrestrials, and the extraterrestrials do not want us to know. So, they're calling the shots on the inside anyway. And, we want to point the blame at, a specific government or a specific group of people and say that they're the ones hiding it from us and us, but they're not the ones hiding it from us. They're actually having it hid from them. And once you really look into these things and start focusing on all this and try to figure it out, you realize that very few people know what's going on. Very few people, and the ones that do, they're controlling everything. You might not know who they are, and that's the way they want it. They don't want you to know who they are. And a lot of them are not human that are controlling it. And these are things that will come out eventually. They're not human, some of them, that are controlling this. These are shape-shifting reptilians that prey on human beings. And, that sounds like a far-fetched fantasy story, out of a horror book or something. But, that's what's going on.
The darkest conspiracy theories. The Titanic theory. The theory says that the Titanic never hit an iceberg. The owner of the Titanic, J.P. Morgan, had two ships, the Olympic and the Titanic. And he knew that the Olympic was old and rusty, so he switched the names and the color of the two ships. The theory argues that he wanted to sink the ship because he'd make a lot of money of it. But the theory doesn't stop there.
Because do you know who was in the ship? All of JP Morgan's business competitors, and none of them survived the trip. But Morgan himself canceled the voyage a few minutes before the journey began.
Do you know all the scary things that have been happening at the Euphrates River?
What's going on there?
Okay, so the Euphrates River is actually located in the Middle East, and it's considered one of the longest rivers in the world, but it's actually drying up. Like, it's almost completely dry. But where the river's drying up, they're actually finding caves and different structures that have been under the river this entire time. But it's actually really scary that they're finding this.
I don't get what's so scary about that.
So what's crazy is the drying up of the Euphrates River is actually written in the Bible. And in the book of Revelations chapter 9:14 through 9:15, it says, "Release the 4 angels bound to the great river Euphrates." And then it says the angels were released to kill 1/3 of all mankind.
So what you're saying is when the river dries up, it's basically the end of the world.
Yeah, and just to put that number in perspective, 1/3 of the world is 2.6 billion people. And it's just super weird that they're finding all these caves under the Euphrates River.
The dark matter tour, because this time in history we know more about the universe and space than we have ever known in the history of mankind right fucking now. And some of the shit they done found out, they don't know how to fucking tell you, because they don't know how the fuck you might react to some of the shit that they done found out. So they found out that in the universe, all of the galaxies, all of the moons, all of the suns, all the stars, everything we can see with our eyes, they found out that that is 5% of the universe. The fuck? That means we know 5% of what the fuck is out there. They don't want to say what the other 95% is. They don't want to say it's God. They don't want to say it's a nigga God. So they called it dark matter. That's what it is. 95% dark matter. They done found out some shit they don't want to tell you. Thanks to James Webb telescope, we can see all the way back to where the Big Bang was supposed to be. Hey, guess what? I don't want to be the spoiler alert, but wasn't no bang, bitch. And it wasn't motherfucking big. So, back to the old drawing board.